So is there any issue with what you presented with giving open meeting law advice to this committee?
No, there's no issue in regard to that. And in fact, if you have questions, you can send those questions to me, and I'll let you know which ones I can answer and which ones I cannot answer. Any questions that you have regarding open meetings laws and things of that nature. I think that we worked on the public comment session last time, and so I have a lot of that legal advice with me. I have copies of it if you'd like to see that when you go into executive session. So any questions that you have, feel free to contact me. I'll answer the ones that I can. I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm not being disrespectful in any way if I can't answer the questions, just because of the duty that I have for the department.
Thank you.
Then, Madam Chair, I just would observe that because we have it agendized as the last item, number 4, I think we've got it validly before us to take a look at that open meeting law advice that's already been given to the subcommittee. And if council is here, we at least have the option to go into executive session today and receive
Yeah,
that legal
that's what
advice
I
and
would
those resources.
suggest. I think what we might want to do is have a brief comment period, and then, and I can't see how much time we have. We could have 10 minutes for public comment, and then we could go into executive session. I don't want people having to go out and come back. There are people who have, we're going to have to probably limit it to about a minute. Felix is going to come and tell me something. Thank you. Oh, let me see how many there are. We have 10. We have items before us. We have the executive session, and we have to set the agenda for the next meeting. And we're going to need at least 20 minutes for that. So I'm going to open up for comment, public comment, 1 minute apiece. And I'll call people out in the order that I have these papers. And then if you will wait, and we will then go into executive session in
Yes,
10
ma'am.
minutes. Would you time? Yes, please. Okay, I am advised that we published a notice that we'd have 15 minutes, and there'd be 2 minutes apiece. That's going to be difficult if I'm not making the math come out. So why don't we?
Just do it.
We'll just do it at 2 minutes apiece, and we may have to table something. So yes.
If you allow me to go first, I'll just do a minute. I'll do a minute and I'll do
Okay. Anyone who could do this in a minute, I would really appreciate
I'll do
it.
a minute.
But I'm just going to call them in the order that we got them, and ask you to do no more than 2 minutes, and hopefully a minute. And Nicole is going to be the timekeeper. So I have Lori Ford.
Thank you so much. My name is Lori Ford. I'm a member of the Arizona DCS Oversight Group. I want to just put my appreciation out there to Deputy Director Faust, who decided that he should probably stay here to hear the public comment, which is very important. So he obliged us with that. So thank you. I have some other issues now. You guys are a citizen review panel. CAPTA 106C4C states that each panel shall provide for public outreach and comment, but allows the state to determine how to provide for that. So we have 2 missing citizen review panels that the public is not aware of. We have no idea. So if you can maybe make a suggestion to DCS that they should probably follow some capital rules there. We were talking about the the substance abuse program that DCS is going to put. Now, I want to know if that is a methadone program, is it a Suboxone program, Sebutol program, or is it actual rehab and drug abuse treatment? That was never mentioned. Reunification with mothers, there are several residential treatment centers where the mothers can have their children. 0 for fathers in this whole state. 0 residential treatment programs for fathers where they can have their children. That's a problem. I would like to know how much money is being spent on the lawsuits right now that DCS has against them.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time
I
is
think
up.
the taxpayers need to know that. Is that 2 minutes?
Yes, it is 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Lisa Delatorre, and would Patrick Christian Hansen, I'm not sure, be ready to go after Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, you're next, so just be ready.
Thank you for having me. I just want to say thank you. I'm going to stand if I could, okay?
Sure.
And I'm just going to read something out loud, and I just, these are my, I'm an advocate from Pima County. My name is Lisa Delatorre. I'm a court watcher, and it is absolutely shocking to see how these so-called courts operate. There is an Arizona Constitution, there is a United States Constitution, there is also a Pima County Business Manual that contains policies and procedures for the Department of Child Safety. There's even an ARS status that protects parents and children from governmental interference. When a parent is hurt, upset, and anxious about the unlawful seizure of their child, something kicks in. The Department of Child Safety uses psychological warfare against parents. We advocates call the psychological jurisprudence, DCS calls it science to children. So you're pretty much studying our children in science. Parents are in distress at having their children seized is a weaponized against them by caseworkers, reporters to superior courts and judges. This is an unethical practice. And social workers should know that there is no immunity for lying to Supreme Court judges in a dependency context. Most parents whose children are seized by DCS are accused and diagnosed with mental illness. This has to stop. This is not acceptable. I've witnessed this, I'm seen it, and it has to stop. These children are not science projects. They are children.
Thank you, ma'am.
Patrick?
Yeah, my name is Patrick Christian Hansen. I run the group and the Facebook page Fight Corruption AZ. I started that group because there was so much corruption within DCS and constitutional violations. So what I wanted to bring up today was I find it very interesting that you guys are going to go into executive session to discuss conversations about public input. And I find it very awkward and strange and really tyrannical, to be honest, that you claim to be a citizen review panel and you say things like, we would like to hear your suggestions, we want your help and need your feedback, and we really hope to get more families involved. I don't see how any more families can get involved with 2 minutes, with only 15 minutes for the total allotted time for any members of the community to come before this board and bring up any issues or make any recommendations. I find that very strange that you're going to exclude the public and go into executive session to discuss public comment in the process before the advisory board. I think that you would want to include members of the community and actual citizens of the community to have discussions about public comment in a citizens review board. And the last thing I would like to ask is that if there's not already something out there I haven't seen, I'd like to know how a member of the citizens or member of the community can join this board and be part of this board and have a say in what goes on here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We want your help and need your thoughtful feedback. If you are familiar with a macro level child welfare situation that requires a solution, please share your ideas. We will consider your feedback. If you have information specific to an expertise represented by a panel, please direct your concerns and suggestions to that panelist. We would also like to hear your specific suggestions for solving the macro level issue. We hope to work in partnership with you as we continue to enlarge the community of people advocating on behalf of children, families, and those who seek to serve them. This meeting will include 15 minutes for public comment. Please let us know that you are interested in sharing by filling out the Community Advisory Committee meeting speaker's card. Where are the cards located today? Are they up front? Located right up front. The committee will hear as many members of the public as possible. Due to open meeting laws, the committee cannot discuss items that are not listed on the current agenda. However, the committee may choose to study the matter and schedule for discussion at a later date. This is done so that the topics to be discussed can be noticed to the public prior to their discussion, and the members of the public can choose to join the conversation.
Melinda, I can't read the handwriting. Cheryl or? Well, you can't give your time to him. You can.
I have time too. Can we just switch? Because
Okay.
My phone is on the down.
Okay, go ahead. So wait a minute, let me pull up your form, David, so I can make sure that everyone's getting heard here. Are you David Watson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Briefly, my name is David Watson. I wanted to bring up that what is not being talked about here, and we have documentation, is that DCS is a private entity. DCS does work with what's called the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. That is the biggest membership association in the entire nation, but I'm pretty sure that most of us never heard of it. What's happening here is that DCS is actually, as a private entity, it has no jurisdiction over the men in the community. And so what they're doing is they're pulling us into these courts where the courts are contracted under Title 42 with Title 4E that you heard Mr. Foss talk so much about. They're all contracted under Title 42, which means they have an interest that's private and they're connected. So the guardian ad litems, the CASA members, the social workers, they all have a contract with Title 4E. They don't have jurisdiction to just come take our little ones from us, and they're not prosecuting us. If you look at the original intentions of the legislature, the federal government, you'll see that the Congress wanted people who actually killed someone or committed some felony, some crime where they would be put in prison, to have somewhere for the children to go, because it was judicially determined by an actual court of record that somebody did something wrong. What's happening here is that CPS is contracting with people, tricking them into believing that they are being looked at for something wrong where that court has no jurisdiction over right or wrong. If you want to look deeper into this, look into the Pima County Guardian Ad Litem Handbook, and you'll see where it says that they're not in the business of finding fault or wrongdoing. So if you're not in the business of finding fault or wrongdoing, why are you bringing parents to court, making them believe that you're trying to say you think they did something wrong, but you don't take them into a court of record, you take them into a private court at a different location where you're trying to make them believe that they're being prosecuted. You got somebody with a black robe on who's working administratively.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melinda, are you coming forward now?
Yes, thank you. Which one?
Either.
I would like to ask Mr. Faust about 254 children in a recent six-month period of time have disappeared from foster care. Where are they? There are no Amber Alerts. There are no press reports. There are no police reports. There are no photographs of these children, so that if we run into them, we would be able to identify them and call the authorities and get them home. There's a recent report that 88% of children who are on the streets in the drug and the sex trades are out of foster care. Now, where are these 254 children? The report is on the DCS website, in the back, in the corner, in the dark, and very hard to find. But that is only for a 6-month period between January 2018 and June 2018. And it doesn't look like, do any of you even know about that? And then, 6 months prior to that, 309 children are gone. And I don't know what the latest report is from June to December of 2018. And from January of 2019, how many kids are gone? This is a very serious problem. DCS is involved, if they do not find these children, in human trafficking of children. So we need an answer.
Thank you.
Arlena Willis?
That's not prepared today, but I'm going to speak from my heart. What I see before me is a committee.
Could you speak into the microphone so we
Okay.
can hear you?
Okay.
And the person who's out on the phone can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. What I see before me is a committee, and I am asking you as a committee that you need to do oversight by our children. Out of 95% of cases, out of 100% of cases, 95% of children, our children, are being wrongfully taken and removed from loving families. My son being one of them. My son, Jonathan David Zeke, is not a number, is not a case number. I wanted to let you know who he is. He's a beloved son. He's a beloved brother, a beloved grandson. He has a best friend. He loves Thomas. He loves Thomas the Train. He is a real individual. He is loved and he is missed by his loving family. He was wrongfully taken by the DCS. And you all need to ask yourselves this. What is in the best interest of our children? Is it our children being wrongfully withheld from our loving care? No, that is not in the best interest of our children. Is federal funding more important than the best interest of our children? No, it is not. And I have not seen anyone raise the concern what is actually in the best interest of the child or how it would be affecting our children, which is what the questions that need to be asked today by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sergio Madrid.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Last time I came here, I started crying, so I can't talk. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Is anybody here interested in seeing the truth for what the CPS system does? I mean, I got the paperwork here. Very supported from a good professor from a university. If you guys don't believe us, I mean, we've been here every time. Last time it was canceled, we've been here every time. And it's growing and everything. Everybody knows what's going on. Is anybody seriously interested? Because, I mean, If not, I mean, there's no point of us coming here, you know? I just want to know if anybody's seriously interested. There's my email right there, the paper right there. I mean, we could probably get a meeting around somewhere where everybody else could give the truthful and everything that's going on with our lives and everything that's happening.
Could you just tell us what you are providing to the committee? Could you
That is
describe it?
that is an article from a professor from a university, and that'll give you a good example of what's going on in every one of our life over here.
Thank you.
We have always been taking advantage of the system. Our children have been having kidnapped by CPS. And there's my email if anybody is seriously interested in knowing the truth and help families. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Martin Lynch?
Thank you very much. You have my document there with my contact information, and my email is MDL. Those are my initials, and there's 10 twos after it. I apologize, but you can type it pretty easy because I'm asking for information you may not have right now at your fingertips. I'm interested in how much money the federal government provides under Title 4E for everything that goes on here. And because I know that in another case I was working on in Los Angeles County, that total is $800 million a year. Okay, so we were interested in the scope of what it is that we're dealing with here. Okay, and so my main message is I'm asking, what is the constitutional check and limit on the power of a judge to order the removal of a child from a family and a parent? And the answer will be found in the 7th Amendment, and Hamilton speaks to it in Federalist 83. Okay, so there is a limit. Everybody in government has checks and balances. There's a limit on the power of everyone, including a judge. He does not have the final authority when it comes right down to the nitty-gritty. Courts have discretion to furnish a jury. There is no prohibition for them to, and that's what you're going to find, by the way, in the 7th Amendment. There is nothing in statute, there's nothing in the Constitution, there's nothing in the court rules anywhere that says you may not have a jury in juvenile court. And so the reason that all these people are here, and they all have different stories to tell you, the thing that we have in common is that we believe children are being taken inappropriately and bad decisions are being made. And then so the question becomes, who has the authority to make that decision? And what we're saying is that authority rests ultimately with a jury and not with a judge. And how that comes about, we're asking that you recommend this to the court.
Thank you.
Okay, and there's a rule change petition here referenced R190028. That's on the court record, so you can look at details if you like.
Crystal Nuttall?
I'm just going to read it really quick because 2 minutes was passed. I was going to elaborate, but I can't. So I'll just read it. It says, the Declaration of Independence states, when there is abuse in government, we the people have the duty to abolish, and that's all of us here, we the people, and bring in new guards to the security of our future. And as it is my duty here today, I am demanding righteous change to come forth in Arizona Department of Child Safety to set the captive children free and send them back to their loving mothers and fathers. AZDCS is most definitely a private child trafficking ring. I told you a few months ago in this very room that God's hammer of judgment is coming down on Arizona, and now there are over 1,700 Arizona indictments that are coming fast and furious towards Arizona, not excluding DCS or the officers of the state. I'm asking this committee to have a heart of conviction for the testimonies you heard here today and what you already know, and demand Arizona Department of Child Safety to reunify the children back to their loving mothers and dads. I will end this with Jesus Christ's most severe statement in the Bible. Matthew 18:6. If anyone abuses a child, it is better that a millstone be hung around their necks and cast into the depth of the sea. Thank you for considering my statement here today.
Thank you. So I would ask that we go to item 7 on the agenda, set the agenda for the next meeting. Based on the comments, I think it might be helpful to have a report on the Arizona Families First program for the committee, which is a lot of the substance abuse program that we're looking at making into an evidence-based program. Would you all be interested in hearing about that program and some detail about it? I don't think we ever have. No, we haven't. The other thing, the major change that was made last year, I think it was to move to pick-up orders instead of all children being moved just on the caseworker. So it might be good to find out what's happened as a result of that process. How many children are being removed subject to court-reviewed pickup orders and issued pickup orders versus exigent circumstances. And the other would be for the children lost to the system, and I'm assuming these are runaway children, perhaps to have someone from the DCS address tell us about how many children there are. And there has been a bill in the legislature with regard to whether the pendency petitions around those children should be dismissed or not. And this has become quite a conversation among a group of people in the child welfare system. So it might be good to have a conversation about who are those, how many children are runaways, are not, they're identified, I mean, they're.
What is the difference if they're under the scrutiny of DCS?
Y'all would charge parents if they lost kids.
Yes,
Excuse me, I have tried to listen to you, and now I'd like to be able to ask that your input time is period. We're moving on. If there are children whose location is not known to the department, who are under department custody or care, then would like to have a report on how many children are there, what are the circumstances around which those children disappeared. It would be something that we might put on a future agenda. What do you all think about that?
Yes.
I think so. Yes. Okay,
The charges pressed against DCS.
Because they're private, can you guys recommend that they go to jail? Can you recommend
The
more?
other item that I would like to put on a future agenda is that we are going to need a new chair for this committee because I am retiring October 1, and I intend to leave this position sometime in the summer.
I'll be the chair.
So,
I nominate her.
I haven't been able to recruit any volunteers. So I think we should have on the next committee a discussion of how the committee would like to go forward in terms of selecting a chair.
Can we need you affidavits at the next meeting before you leave?
So, do you all have any, the other thing that we're going to have to also.
Ma'am, he just asked you a question. Can we leave you affidavits before you retire?
No, you cannot have input at this point. At the next meeting, you may raise that at the public comment, or you can send a comment into the DCS website. We need to also discuss the report. If we're going to move the report up to June, we need to have a conversation about how that's going to work. So those are all potential topics. Do you have any other topics? The other topic that I wanted to raise as well, as we have been doing the Bruce Perry project for foster children and kinship families on trauma, the Department of Education has decided to work with Dr. Perry on his trauma-informed education program. I had the opportunity to speak with a couple of people from the Department of Education who are working on that program, and I wondered if you'd like to have them come and talk about what their plan is with regard to teaching. We're also doing this behavioral health program in the schools because of money that was passed last year. But to perhaps have the Department of Education talk about what they are doing, their plan is for training teachers and other staff around kind of a trauma lens around the needs of children in the schools, because education is one of the sectors that we work in, and it might be helpful to have people come and talk about this. We have the unique opportunity in Arizona of having child welfare, behavioral health, and education all coming from the same sort of trauma approach, neurosequential model trauma approach, which I think is really unique in the state. So if you'd like to have that added to the agenda, we could also put that on if you have ideas about it. Anybody want to comment?
Madam Chair, it's looking like a full agenda. I liked all of your ideas, but if I
We're not going to do them all in one meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I thought it was the next agenda.
Just speaking for myself, to me, what seems most timely would be the removal orders.
Okay.
And particularly, will we be seeing that tailored either in the courts through court order or at the legislature during the session? I know that the program's only been out that 1 year, so
yeah.
How's it doing? And so it would be great to have a report on that. From my perspective, obviously the chair is important, the reports are important, and with regard to the missing children in the system, I'd like to have a report on that and understand exactly how it's reported on the DCS website and how they track that, how they disclose that.
So we could do those three probably. The retirement one's not a big one. It's, I'm leaving and we need a chair. That we can do that pretty quickly. And then we could put these other two to a later meeting.
Yeah, I would, in line with the previous comments, I would like to filter when we consider topics how they fit with our mandate under the advisor committee or the citizens review panel, so that we're very, because we have such little time, so that we're very deliberate in terms of fulfilling our mandate.
So the other thing would be that we need to kind of look at, we've had the presentation on sort of where is the strategic plan, and maybe have a copy of the strategic plan and where the department sees themselves as being with regard to progress with that, and then what we might have contributed to that would be a way to think about doing the planning for next year, which is really planning for the other topic would be planning for FY19 and 20 with regard to the committee focus. And that would fit into your comments, Judy.
So when we asked earlier, Mr. Faust, what we might do, I'm not sure if you were here yet then. Yeah. He commented on gathering information on service needs and service gaps.
So let's think about how we can do that. Okay, for next meeting, a report on the pickup orders versus removals based on exigent circumstance, children lost to the system, planning for the transition to a new chair. Is that going to be enough?
I think we should talk about the report also.
And the report, yes. Planning for and the report.
And the AFF we're leaving to another time.
We can do that another time. We're going to have time over the next period to really look at some of the best practice issues and what some of the advantages will be on the substance use side is there will be $40 that will pay for children's cost of being in residential treatment with their parents, which would be a great enhancement to the service array. So with that, shall we adjourn this meeting and move into executive session? A motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please signify by saying aye if you agree.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. This part of the meeting is adjourned, and we will now go into executive session. Thank you all.